Hey everyone, I'm coming on here to talk about prioritization and planning. But just a quick note is that I realized that my earrings actually match my mug almost perfectly today, which is really fun. And this mug was actually a mug that one of the team members got me. So shout out to Erica because I still use this mug like 2 or 3 years later. So anyway, after that matching color thing that I just wanted to mention, which I thought was really funny. Let's talk about prioritization versus bandwidth. And if you've ever heard the term sprint planning, it's used a lot in UI UX or product planning, but how we can apply the same principles of sprint planning to actually helping you in your business without having to be a product manager. So let's dive in. First, sprint planning. So sprint planning is the idea that a sprint lasts however long you want it to last. Normally it'll last maybe a week. And you say, okay, this week's sprint planning, we're going to take up this, this, and this item. So how can we use that type of logic to plan our products and plan what we're doing? So a good rule of thumb that we always do is like weekly check-ins or bi-weekly check-ins. Where like every week or so we're saying, hey, what is the next thing that we're doing? What is the newest thing? What do we need to check in on? And what is needing to be reviewed or approved? And those just like check-ins are really, really good to pushing your web platform, your app, your website forward, just to make sure you're staying on track. And so in that planning, the most important thing is to not focus on the actual work. A big mistake that we used to make during sprint planning was, okay, we're going to use this time to actually review all the designs together. And it became a sort of bottleneck for some people. Some people were a bottleneck because they were waiting until that meeting to actually review the design. So it's important to look at a design on your own and then come into a meeting with your design team to talk about clarification on any revisions you sent, things to pick up. Oh, I think I just lagged. But anyway, clarifications on revisions you sent, things to pick up, that type of thing, so that your sprint planning meeting can truly be a sprint planning meeting where you're moving things forward and not a design review meeting. And that can apply across all different types of teams. That can apply across sales teams, that can apply across development teams. Understanding priority is so, so important in your planning and your weekly check-ins and moving yourself forward. I know this month we've been talking all about strategy, planning, how to plan ahead. And this is one of the good things that once you have your plan in place, moving forward is going to be easy because you're checking in, because you're continuing to adjust priorities, because sometimes things come up, right? I mean, all the time things come up. So it's really important to say, hey, this thing came up. So maybe this, is pushed back. And by pushed back, and this leads me into the next thing I'm talking about, which is priorities versus bandwidth. Just because it's pushed back doesn't mean that you might not get to it. It just means you're assigning a priority to the first thing. So it's really important to make sure that when you're assigning priorities, you're saying, this is the first thing I want to do. This is the second thing I want to do. This is the third thing I want to do, or I want you to do. And it doesn't mean that the third thing isn't important. It doesn't mean that the third thing might not like be gotten to. It just means that the first two take priority. Because what ends up happening if you say, yes, all three of these things are of equal importance and they all need to get done, then what ends up happening is maybe the third thing gets started on first, but the first thing actually was a little bit more important. And then the third thing is done, but the first thing is half done. And you needed the first thing actually sent out first or done first or sent to a development team first or whatever in that space. So priorities do not equal bandwidth, which is something that we talk about a lot. Like, yeah, we'll probably get to it, but we want to make sure that the things that need to be sent first, the bottlenecks, the things that other teams are relying on happen first. So I've seen people use like number systems, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Us personally, we use like critical, high, medium, low, and then we stack it in order. There's all sorts of ways that you can do priority, but communicating those and saying, hey, this is still important, it's still critical, but it's number three, and it's not number one, is a really important exercise for yourself when you're looking at the things you need to do, and for yourself as a business owner when you're talking to other teams and other people and explaining to them the things you want them to do and the goals that you're setting for them. I hope this helps, and let me know what you normally do when you're working through priorities and what you're normally doing to communicate. Thanks.